I would now like to introduce our commencement speaker, Peter Mullin. Peter is an accomplished financial services and insurance executive, a noted philanthropist, and I'm also proud to call him a friend. He's also a friend of the Leonard Davis School and served on our board of counselors, as well as many other boards in nonprofits and higher education. He is the chairman of the Peterson Automotive Museum, the American Bugatti Club, and founder and chairman of the Mullin Automotive Museum. Peter holds a bachelor's degree in economics from UC Santa Barbara and an honorary doctorate from St. Patrick College, Maynooth County, Kildare, Ireland. And I can go on and share with you the highlights of Peter's business career, but I've learned to know Peter over the last few years, and what makes him a unique individual is his innovative thinking, his ability to think out of the box, and to disrupt conventional thinking. He did that in the insurance industry, and I think he has his vision on interfacing gerontology and insurance. He just recently led a workshop on the business and aging interface, and he's a true visionary. Please welcome Peter Mullin.
Thank you very much, Hasi. You know, I've been thinking about today and the pleasure and opportunity to share some thoughts with all of you. I have to confess that this is the first time in my life I've ever given a commencement speech. So you're probably thinking, oh my God, and he's 76 years old? Scary. Some of you are veterans of maybe one or two other commencement speeches, so for a short period of time here, bear with me. We're in this thing together. You'd probably be thrilled if I started off my comments with, in conclusion. So, I don't want to let you down. In conclusion, I've been considering lately what I thought I know or feel about gerontology, and I've made a huge mistake. I think many people do, confusing the word gerontology with geriatrics. So my thought was, when I heard the word decrepit, old age, barely ambulatory, tired people, lost faculties, muscles that don't quite work right anymore, loss of memory, feeling of frustration because the elderly can't fend for themselves anymore, even after a lifetime of pride and self-sufficiency, feelings of the loss of relevance, classic reactions to getting old and dealing with aging. I've come to realize that I've been 100% wrong, virtually 100% wrong. Gerontology, I learned, is the comprehensive multidisciplinary study of the aging process, and in some ways of older adults. But my thought struck me that since we're all aging, it means, I guess, everybody in this room. Whereas geriatrics, they pointed out, was the study of health and disease in older ages, the branch of medicine dealing with diseases, debilities, and the care of aged persons. So, as I mentioned, I made a big mistake in misunderstanding the use of these two words. On the other hand, we're told that the aging population in this country has been growing dramatically on account of medical and wellness treatment breakthroughs. And the recognition that it's at least partially within our power, notwithstanding our genetics and our DNA, to affect what growing older means to us, based on our own lifestyle decisions we make every day. and that growing older, feeble, slow, halting, bent over is to a fair measure within our grasp and control. That is to say, living longer, life expectancy, is happening right here under our nose. Life expectancy has increased approximately 7 years in the last 35 years. And the over 65-year-olds are the fastest growing segment of the population in the US. I recently read that the over 60-year-olds are 11% of the total population today, and that by 2050 that will be 22% of the population, doubled, which seemed like an amazing number to me. Until I read that in Japan it's 27% today, going to 44%. Also during that same period of time that the population in the world, the entire world population should grow by a factor of 3.5, but the population of people over 60 will grow by a factor of 10, so that's triple the rate and the number. And that 30,000 people a day are reaching age 60. So it struck me that the thing we might focus on is not life expectancy, but health expectancy. How to live longer well, a longer life worth living. Waking up every day with joy and excitement about what today brings, being creative and involved and respected. Respected for our experience, for sure, and for our wisdom, maybe. One of the most interesting things I think that is significant things that's happened to humanity is this growing cadre of really valuable people, a truly hidden asset, capable of helping to change the course of humanity. What has been recently called the silver tsunami. I love that. A treasure mine of gems sitting right here under our nose. And for all of you who happen to be sitting right here, you're at the core, the fulcrum of the tsunami, with the added advantage of your youth to add significance to this asset base. You know, when I grew up a long time ago, not very far from here in Alhambra, we used to characterize it as very close to Pasadena, just so I could upgrade it a little bit. I did a lot of work for older people, mowing their lawns, taking out their trash, edging and weeding their gardens, washing their cars, going to the store for them. And I thought it was a good trade, actually. My youth, my physical abilities, and of course charm, in exchange for their money. But in one case, I traded my work for their skills, their experience, and their expertise. That's when I met a gentleman whose name was Elmer Hickey. He was known as the Great Hicko. He was an 80-year-old who had been the president of the International Society of Magicians. International Society of Magicians. And he made me an offer. He said if I would do for him and his wife all the chores that I just mentioned on a weekly basis, he would not pay me any money, but he would teach me a new magic trick every week, which was a subject I was really interested in. So we did that deal. I worked very hard. I learned magic. But in retrospect, maybe he's the one that worked the magic, as he might have gotten the better end of the deal. I didn't figure that out at the time, so it really was magic. Later, I realized that we both got a gift, because for the rest of my life, I've been passionate about magic. And during this period of many chores, this career of many chores, it never dawned on me that I was privileged to serve and work with a hugely valuable asset. I never realized what all of you have tumbled to, that being a Wall Street maven, or a lawyer, or a startup entrepreneur, or an actor, or a director is good, it's interesting. But you have actually found yourself in the catbird seat, a mostly unappreciated spot with huge potential to work with an overlooked treasure chest, our maturing population, and that you're bringing with you the skills and insights and commitments that you developed here during your time at the Davis School. So last week, as Dean Cohen mentioned, this exact topic was the subject of the Milken Institute, where our company, M Financial, and the M Center of Excellence co-sponsored with the Milken Institute an evening and day-long summit on business and aging to address what are the needs, the business opportunities, and the very satisfying results of working with this growing asset base. And a couple of conclusions emerged. First one was that we need to rename, rebrand this group. Aged is not an exciting word. Retired has the word tired in it. Elderly reminds, at least me, of wheelchairs, crutches, or canes. So what are some examples of exciting nomenclature changes? I've already suggested the silver tsunami instead of Del Webb's much overused golden age. But how about rewire instead of retire? Or reboot rather than retread? Or not elderly, but welderly? And since we have boomers and millennials and X generation and Y generation, why not perennials? Or venerables for our brilliant silvers? How about a second or third or maybe even a new career? Maybe change recreation to recreation rather than calling it a day, sleeping in, lunch at the club, afternoon nap, early bedtime, basically put out to pasture waiting for the grim reaper to appear. After all, at 60 or 65, we have a whole career span in front of us, easily the possibility of another 30 years. Think what we could do with this if we had the health, the energy, the emotional stability, and a respected and valued status to bring to the table all we've developed and experienced, surviving curveballs that have been thrown at us over the years, missteps that we avoided or only twisted an ankle. Generally, the wisdom to recognize patterns and take positive advantage of them. A huge and exciting possibility, something worth anticipating every day for. And all of you are right here playing a key role in this new creation. How exciting is that? So what did the attendees of this summit share with us that they observed? And this was a group of all of the well-known experts on this subject around the country. First, the size of the opportunity. Bank of America estimates the marketplace for goods and services for the over 60-year-olds is $20 trillion. Big number. Number two, problems with products for the aging, which are generally made by younger people, frequently made cheaply, therefore don't work very well, and are created with no input from the users. The conclusion was that was a big mistake. The learning was ask the audience of users what their needs and wants are. Third finding was don't label items as products for the elderly. I can speak personally for this point, which is older people don't want to buy products that say made for the elderly. It's embarrassing, they say to themselves. It's okay for some people, but not for me. I'm an exception. And make products that are very handy, very usable for all ages, because the elderly will buy them. If you switch from products to services, seems like an obvious point, but show respect, appreciation for what they, older folks, have accomplished. The road they've shown us, forged by their efforts. Avoid the tendency to treat the aging population like wrinkled children, even if, or more likely when, they act juvenile. As human beings, as we all know, have a natural tendency to exacerbate and amplify their good and bad points with age. help build bridges to opportunities that retired people can walk over to get connected and find a new career. Encore is a great example. Led by Mark Friedman, Encore has undertaken this to create a new teaching corps, which you all are probably quite familiar with, new but older teachers. But what about the other career paths? Management consulting, mentoring, problem solving, researching solutions, product creation, wealth advising. Or as Chip Conley has so brilliantly described in his great book, Peak, the swap between youngers and elders. That has IQ passing from youth to elders, but EQ, emotional quotient, which is dealing with people face-to-face, mentoring, listening, not texting or twittering, and passing this skill from elders to youth. A powerful blending of millennials and perennials. Talk about a gift in both directions. So there's huge opportunities here for folks that keep their eyes and ears open. Just give you a minute of background. At M Financial, our company, we've been focused for the last 35 years on insurance and financial planning services. We also formed a reinsurance company so we could dictate pricing for our special clients by sharing the risk. But we observed, because that's our business, this amazing increase in life expectancy, but notice there was a mismatch between life expectancy and health expectancy. Health expectancy was not keeping up. 85% of one's lifetime medical costs are incurred in the last 24 months of life. That's a shocking statistic. What's the point of living 2 years longer if you've lost your health and are spending your spouse's safety net or your children or your grandchildren's inheritance on medical costs? So we decided to focus on extending health expectancy, genetic testing, DNA sequencing, modest changes in lifestyle to truly embrace personal medicine rather than one size fits all. No more take 2 aspirin and call me in the morning. We also turned our attention to wealth expectancy. If life expectancy is age 79 and you plan your finances to live to 80, is that enough? On average, the answer is yes. But if you do live to 80 and run out of money, what are you going to do until 95? Averages aren't very helpful here. So who's going to step in and solve your problem? I think the short answer is nobody. So people are very fearful of outliving their means. And to address this fear, we're creating products that guarantee lifetime inflation-adjusted income so that you can't outlive the inflation-adjusted stream, even if you're still here at 105. Now, by the way, everybody's talking about this problem, but no one is doing much about it. I saw recently the current issue of Town & Country's cover and lead story that asks the question, are you rich enough to live forever? The high price of mortality. In a recent issue, the New Yorker's cover story is Health, Medicine, and the Body, Silicon Valley Wants to Live Forever. It's a very hot topic with no solutions for paying for it. So we decided to take it on, and more to follow. Now, I'll leave you with a couple of thoughts, conclusions I've reached looking back in my own career, observations and lessons learned. Here's what I think I learned. Keep your focus and belief in your own passion and career. Don't listen to others. Keep going even when things look bleak. The tunnel may be dark and long, but there's a light at the end. Survival is succeeding. Lesser people quit. Stay the course. Avoid rabbit ears. Being distracted by someone you heard about who made $300 million selling a startup to Google. The Silicon Highway is littered with broken dreams and empty wallets. Young people that have stars in their eyes. It's kind of like a young basketball player, I think, who can shoot free throws well, sees himself as a pro player, Dreams and aspirations are great, but realism is useful. Only about 1/100th of 1% will make it to the NBA. I thought at one time I was a pretty good free throw shooter, but you could tell that I never made it to the NBA. Whatever field you choose, put your customer, your client first, and everything else will flow. You'll be swamped with good news and blessings. Stay the course, don't give up. Warren Buffett, the sage of Omaha, the most successful and wisest businessman in the world over the last 50 years, when asked what's the secret to making money in business, what is the right investment strategy, says simply, avoid the siren of quick bucks. If you want a great sled ride, pick a long hill. By the way, in Tuesday's, I don't know if you saw it, but in Tuesday's New York Times, Buffett at the annual stockholders meeting of Berkshire Hathaway, which is called, interestingly, the Woodstock for Capitalists, pointed out that lowering corporate taxes is not the panacea for kickstarting the American economy. Corporate taxes in the 60s were 4% of gross domestic product. In the 60s, 4% gross domestic product, and today they're 2% of gross domestic product, half as much. So the real drag is not taxes, it's healthcare costs. The cost of maintaining the American healthcare system, meaning hospitals, HMOs, doctor's visits, prescription drugs, medical devices, insurance coverage, Medicare, Medicaid, rising at an incredible rate. Over this same period since the 60s, healthcare has gone from 5% of GDP to 17%, twice the rate of the rest of the modern world. So let's keep working on healthy aging. Living longer well is the goal, and you can catalyze it if you focus on this hugely expanding population and work on products and services. Focus on health expectancy and maybe even wealth expectancy. Then success is almost assured. As Hasi Dean Cohen says, let's focus on health care, not sick care. A wise man once said, humans reach the height of their capacity when the shadows of light start slanting eastward. I love that phrase since I'm kind of feeling the slant. And I love to embrace the notion that the real fountain of youth is the fountain with youth. So I wish you great sledding. Thanks.
Thank you, Peter, for this inspiring speech. On behalf of the Leonard Davis School of Gerontology, we'd like to bestow upon you the highest honor, the school award, the Dean's Medallion. For everything you've done for the field of gerontology and the Leonard Davis School, and even more for what you're going to do. So thank you very, very much for all of your contributions.